Okay, I think we're live. So there's a question I get often, one question really, that you can ask any woman in your life, your girlfriend, your wife, the woman you've been dating for 3 weeks, even your own mother. And within about a minute or so, you'll know whether you are dealing with a normal, healthy human being or a covert female narcissist who's been quietly running your life into the ground. It's not, do you love me? It's not, are we okay? It's not, what do you want from this relationship? In fact, the question is, it's so simple, really, that it's so seemingly innocent that she can't prepare for it. She can't pull it from the script she's been running on you for the last 6 months. She can't Google it at 2 o'clock in the morning. She has to answer it from who she really is. And here's what's going to happen when you ask it. One of two things, really. Either she passes and, brother, you can finally exhale, or she fails. And what comes out of her mouth in the next minute is going to tell you everything you have been afraid to admit to yourself for months or even years. Now, in this live, I'm going to give you the question here in a minute. I'm going to give you the four tells in her answer that confirm what you are dealing with. I'm going to walk you through 3 real scenarios so you can hear it for yourself. And then I'm going to tell you exactly what to do the moment you know. So make sure to stay with me till the end, because the last 5 minutes of this video are the part nobody else is teaching on. And they're the part that's actually going to keep you safe. So for those of you joining live, welcome back to the Narc Free Man podcast. This show exists for one reason: to help men recognize, escape, and recover from narcissistic women. Now, quick disclaimer here. I'm not here to bash women. I happen to be married to an amazing wife, but the vast majority of women on this planet, they're not full-blown narcissists. The ones we are talking about today are a specific personality pattern. And research suggests that somewhere around maybe 4 to 6% of the population meets the criteria for NPD. And women absolutely make up a meaningful share of that. So I'm not here to diagnose anyone. And the reason you don't hear about female narcissists as much, it is cultural, but men don't talk about it. Men told that they're the problem. And then they get laughed at when they say, I think my wife is abusing me. So they just shut up, they stay silent, and they stay stuck. Well, hopefully that ends here today. Now, before I give you the question, I have to ask you a quick favor. And that is, can you do me a solid? And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Or if you're listening to the replay of this, the audio version of the podcast on Spotify or Apple, you can also subscribe there. And if you would leave a quick rating and review, that would really help get the word out about the Narc Free Man podcast. So here's why the question I'm about to give you actually works when nothing else has. A healthy human being has 3 things that a narcissist either lacks entirely or has only in counterfeit form. So these 3 things are: number 1 is genuine empathy, not performed empathy, not I'm sorry you feel that way, but really felt, like real empathy, where that pain actually registers and changes her behavior. The second one is accountability, the capacity to look at her own behavior and see that she caused harm and own it without spinning or deflecting or blaming you. The third one is a coherent self, a stable sense of who she is that doesn't require constant external validation and doesn't shatter the moment somebody disagrees with her on something. Now, a narcissist, covert, overt, malignant, doesn't matter the flavor, is missing at least one of those 3, usually 2, and often all 3, really. then the question I'm about to give you is engineered to test all three at the same time in under a minute with a single answer. That's why it works. Now, again, before I give it to you, one warning: do not ambush her with this. Don't sit her down at the kitchen table and say, I have a question for you. She'll feel the trap, and anyone would. You're going to bring this up in a normal conversation, in a low stakes moment, like you just thought of it. And we'll talk about delivery here in a minute. Okay, here it is. Ask her, tell me about a time you really hurt somebody and what you did to make it right. That's it. Read it again in your head and hear it. Tell me about a time you really hurt somebody and what you did to make it right. Now, it sounds like a normal question. It sounds like the kind of thing two people who actually know each other might ask each other on a long drive, right? It is completely innocuous on the surface. But underneath the surface, that question is a three-pronged psychological diagnostic that hits every single one of the things a narcissist cannot do. So to answer it honestly, she has to, one, admit she was the cause of harm. That hits accountability. Number two, describe the impact on the other person in their experience, not hers. That hits empathy. Number three is describe a repair, which means she has to have a stable enough sense of self to tolerate having been wrong without it destroying her. Three impossible asks for a narcissist in one sentence delivered casually. Now, here's where it gets really useful because she is going to answer. She has to. Silence would be too obvious. So she's going to open her mouth and say something. And what she says, that's where the four tells live. Before I give you the four tells, I want to calibrate your ear because if you have been with a narcissist for a long time, you might have forgotten what a healthy answer to that question even sounds like. Your normal meter is broken, so we are going to fix it. A healthy woman asked that question. We'll do something like this. There will be a pause, a real one. She'll think because remembering a time you hurt somebody is uncomfortable, and healthy people feel that discomfort instead of skipping past it. And then she'll say something like, yeah, actually, back in college, I had a roommate and I said something behind her back that got back to her and it really hurt her. I remember her face when she confronted me about it and I felt awful. I apologized and I meant it. And I told her exactly what I'd said and why I was wrong. And we worked through it. So we are still friends, actually. I think about that sometimes when I'm tempted to talk about somebody else behind their back. Now, listen to that. Listen to the structure of it. There's a specific person, there's a specific harm, there's the other person's experience, her face. There's an unflattering admission about herself, and there's a repair. And there's evidence the lesson stuck. She thinks about it now. That's a healthy answer. It might not be that polished, it might be messier, but it'll have those bones. A real person, a real harm, the other person's pain, ownership, and repair. Now, we're going to go through what you'll hear instead if you are with a narc. Four tells. Any one of them is a yellow flag. Two or more is your answer. So tell number one is the deflection. The deflection sounds like this. You ask the question, tell me about a time you really hurt somebody and what you did to make it right. And she answers a completely different question. Watch. Oh my gosh, I've been hurt so many times. My ex used to do this thing where yada yada. Just stop. Did you catch it? You asked when she hurt somebody, She told you when somebody hurt her. The pronoun flipped in under 3 seconds. She is incapable on a reflex level of holding herself as the agent of harm. Her psyche won't let her sit there, so she swerves into victimhood because victimhood is the only role her sense of self can survive in. Now, this is the most common tell, and it's the easiest to miss because you are conditioned to comfort her the moment she brings up her own pain. You'll start nodding, you'll start saying, I'm sorry, baby. And 10 minutes later, you'll forget you ever asked the original question. That's not an accident. That's the function of the deflection. There's a softer version of this too. Sounds something like, honestly, I just don't think I really hurt people. I'm a pretty kind person. I don't really have an example to give you. Now, that's not humility. A genuinely kind person can name the times they fell short because that's part of how they got to be kind. Now, if somebody who tells you she has no examples is not telling you she's good, she's telling you she has no access to the part of herself that could, see her own harm. So tell number two is the victim spin. Now, the victim spin is the deflection's older, smarter sister. With the deflection, she just answers a different question. With the victim spin, she stays on the question, sort of, but she rewrites the story so that even when she was the one who caused the harm, she was actually the real victim of the situation. It sounds, something like this. Yeah, okay. There was this girl in my friend group. I cut her off, but honestly, she was so toxic. She was always making everything about herself, and I was the only one with the courage to say something. She didn't take it well, obviously, because she was the kind of person who couldn't handle the truth. So I had to protect my peace and walk away. Did it hurt her? Probably, but I had to do what was best for me. Listen to that. Listen to what just happened. She named a harm. I cut her off, but by the end of the answer, the other woman is the toxic one. The narrator is the brave truth teller, and it's been recorded. It's been recorded as self care. Now there is no repair in that answer. There is no genuine engagement with the other person's experience. There's no acknowledgement that she might have been wrong. She is the hero of every story, including the stories where she's the one who did the damage. Now, pay attention to this. Sometimes the victim, the victim spin is the truth. Sometimes she really did cut off a toxic friend, and that really was the right call. That's one way to tell. It's not a diagnosis. You have to listen for the pattern. If every story she tells about hurting somebody ends with her as the misunderstood saint and the other person as the villain, every single one, that is not a coincidence. That is a worldview. That is an operating system. Okay, tell number two is the victim spin. We keep listening. Tell number three is the word salad. This one, once you hear it, you're going to recognize it for the rest of your life in every conversation you have ever had with her. The word salad is what happens when you ask a direct, simple question, and she gives you a long, winding, paragraph-shaped answer that uses a lot of words but doesn't actually answer anything. It sounds therapy coded. It uses big phrases like boundaries or trauma response or my healing journey, in retrospect, or from a place of. It might be 3 minutes long, it might be five. And when she's done, you sit there blinking because you can't actually summarize what she said. There's no event, there's no person, there's no specific harm, there's no repair. There's just a cloud of psychological sounding vocabulary. Why does this happen? Well, two reasons. One, confusion is a defense. If she keeps you in intellectually scrambling, you can't pin her down, you can't follow up, you forgot what you asked. This is the same mechanism as gaslighting, just dressed up nicer. Number two is she genuinely doesn't have a real answer. So she's improvising. There is no event in her memory of a time I hurt someone and made it right, because that file doesn't exist in her psychological archive. So she generates plausible sounding content in real time on the fly, hoping volume subsides for substance. You say, and say it gently, I mean, wait, I want to make sure I'm tracking. Who was the person? What did you do? A healthy person, even one giving a rambly answer, can come back to specifics like, oh, sorry, it was my sister and I'd skipped her wedding. A narcissist faced with that follow up will get irritated, will accuse you of interrogating her, will say, why are you grilling me? Will pivot to, and here it comes, being a victim, because you asking a clarifying question have now hurt her. And just like that, the conversation isn't about the original question anymore. It's about how you made her feel. So that's tell number three, word salad followed by counterattack when you try to land the plane. All right, tell number four is the counterattack. This is the one that confirms it. If at any point during this exchange, she stops engaging with the question and starts engaging with you, that's tell four. It sounds like, why are you even asking me this? What is this? An interrogation? Did you read some article online? Did some podcast bro put this in your head? Are you trying to set me up for something? You think I'm a bad person? Is that what this is? I can't believe you are doing this right now. I'm so tired, and you are fill in the blank. The counterattack is when the test stops being about her answer and starts being about your right to ask the question in the first place. The frame flips. Now you are on trial. You have to defend yourself. You have to apologize for upsetting her. You have to swear you weren't trying to trap her. And here's the thing, guys, a genuinely healthy person, even if they got annoyed by the question, would just answer it. They might say, weird question, but okay, and give you a real answer, even if they pushed back. The pushback would be brief, and they come back to the question. A narcissist cannot, will not. The question is a threat to the self-image, and the self-image is everything. Defending the self-image is more important than the relationship, more important than honesty, more important than your reasonable request to be known by the person you are with. So she goes on the offensive. And if you have been here with her for a while, you'll fold. That's the trained response. You'll say, oh, you are right. I'm sorry. I don't know why I asked. Are you okay? And the test is over. And you have learned what you came to learn. Because that right there, that fold, that retreat, that apology you just made for asking a normal question of the person who's supposed to know you the best, that's the entire shape of the relationship in miniature, in like 90 seconds. 4 tells, deflection, victim spin, word salad, and counterattack. 2 or more, you have your answer. Now, I told you at the top there's a follow-up question, a second question that you only ask if she passed the first one, but something is still off in your gut. That second question is a 100% confirmation tool, and I'm going to give it to you here in just a few moments. But before that, I want you to hear what these four tells actually sound like in the wild, because reading about them is one thing, recognizing them in your own kitchen, on your own couch is another. So I'm going to walk you through three scenarios. They are composites, not real people, but every single line in them is something I have heard from men who have come through this channel. Listen for the four tells. See if you can spot them in real time. Okay, so picture this. You have been dating her for 6 months. Things have been intense. She said, I love you in week 3. She's already half moved into your apartment. Her toothbrush has been there since week 5, but something's off. You can't put your finger on it. Your friends like her, but they don't like her like her. Your sister got quiet after meeting her. You're driving, let's say, for example, and on a Sunday afternoon, coffee in the cup holder, your mood's great. You say, hey, random question. Tell me about a time you really hurt somebody and what you did to make it right. She laughs. Oh, oh my gosh. What kind of question is that? You smile and say, oh, I don't know. I was just curious. She thinks for a second. Then she says, okay. So in high school, there was this girl, and she was like really obsessed with my boyfriend at the time, like obsessed. And she would literally sit at our lunch table just to be near him. So I told her to back off, and she cried like a full meltdown in the cafeteria. And people said I was the bad guy, but honestly, she was being inappropriate. I stood up for myself. I think she actually thanked me later in her own way, because she got therapy after that and turned her life around. Now, did you hear that? Tell me you hear it. That's the victim spin, the named harm, telling a sobbing teenage girl off in front of the whole cafeteria, got rewritten on the fly into I stood up for myself, and she thanked me later. And then the chef's kiss. She got therapy and turned her life around, implying not only was she not harmed, the harm was actually a gift. 6 months in, that's the answer. That's who she is. Believe her. Scenario 2. You've been married for, let's say, 12 years and you have 2 kids with her. You don't really know how you got here, because the woman you married is not the woman across from you at the dinner table, but you are not sure when the swap happened. So you decide to ask, not because you think she's a narcissist. You don't even use that word yet, but because something in you needs to know who you are actually married to. So you ask the question. She puts her fork down. She stares at you. She'll say, where is this coming from? You say, oh, just, I'm asking. She'll say, no, where is this coming from? Did you talk to your sister? Did your sister put you up to this? And you say, nobody put me up to anything. I just asked you a question. And she comes back and says, you don't just ask questions like that. You're trying to make me feel like a bad person. You always do this. You set these little traps. And then when I don't answer the way you want, you go and sulk for 3 days and tell your friends that I'm crazy. That's the counterattack. Pure, fast, total. You asked one question calmly at dinner, and inside of 90 seconds, you are now defending yourself for trying to trap her. Your sister is somehow involved, and you are the abuser in the conversation. You will not get an answer to your question. You will never get an answer to your question. The question itself has been classified as an attack, and any future attempt to ask anything like it will be cited as evidence that you are the toxic one in the relationship. 12 years, that's the answer. That's who you have been with. Now, scenario three, a quick one. Let's say you're on a third date with her. You're at the bar, you ask a question half jokingly in the middle of a conversation about your exes. And she goes, "Oh, easy one. My freshman roommate, I was going through some stuff and it was a nightmare to live with, like a full on nightmare. Passive aggressive notes, the whole thing. By spring semester, she basically moved in with her boyfriend just to get away from me. I didn't even realize how bad I'd been until 2 years later when I ran into her and I just apologized like fully. And she was so gracious about it. We are not close, but we follow each other now. And every time I see her post something, I think, man, I was such a mess back then. I'm glad I'm not that person anymore." Now, that right there is a healthy answer. Specific person, specific harm. Her own ugliness, named clearly. The other person's experience. She basically moved in with her boyfriend just to get away from me. Repair, even if it was late, and evidence the lesson stuck. Now, I know you're not going to date a perfect woman. You don't want to date a perfect woman. You want to date a woman who can do that, who can sit with having been wrong and not lose herself in it and come out the other side a little better. That's what health looks like. So there was three scenarios, three answers. You can hear it now, can't you? I mean, so the follow-up question is, you only need this if she passed the first one cleanly, gave you a real answer, named a real person, named a real harm, but something in your gut is still telling you the math doesn't add up. Maybe her answer was too polished. Maybe it sounded rehearsed. Maybe it was the same story she's told three different times, exactly the same way, like a press release. So here's the follow-up question. What did they say about it afterwards? Like in their own words. That's it. The reason this works, a narcissist can sometimes prepare for the first question, especially the higher functioning ones. They have heard themselves tell the redemption story before. They have polished it. They know which beats to hit. You'll hear, "And I apologized and we worked through it," and it'll sound right. But what they cannot fake is the other person's interior experience, because to fake that, you'd have to actually have imagined yourself into the other person's mind. You'd have had to wonder after the fact what it was actually like to be them. That's empathy, real empathy. And the narc doesn't have it. So when you ask, what did they say about it afterwards? In their own words, a healthy person will go right back into the memory. Like, "Oh, she said she felt invisible for months and that the apology mattered, but it took her a long time to trust me again. She said something like, 'I just needed you to see me. I'll never forget that.'" Specific, felt. The other person is alive in the answer. A female narcissist will not be able to do this. She will say something generic, like, "She said it was fine," or "She said she appreciated it," or she'll get vague. "I don't really remember exactly what she said. Just after that, we were good after." Or classic, she'll pivot back to herself. "She said she was just glad I'd grown so much." So remember to listen for the other person. If in her story of having hurt someone, the other person never quite comes into focus as a real human being with a real interior life, that's your answer. That's the empty room behind the mask. That's the follow up. All right. Here's the part nobody else is going to give you. Let's say she failed the test. Two tells, three, all four. You asked the follow-up question and the other person never came into focus. And you're sitting there now realizing you have known this for a long time, but you needed somebody to say it out loud. So what do you do? Well, the first thing is, and I want you to actually hear this, guys, do not confront her with what you have just figured out. I know every cell in your body wants to sit her down and say, I asked you that question on purpose, and here's what your answer told me, and here's what I now know about you. Don't do that. Why? Because the second she knows you are onto her, the playbook changes. You stop being the boyfriend or the husband and you start being a threat. Threats get neutralized. That looks like accusations to your family, accusations to HR if you work together, accusations to the police, accusations in family court if there are kids involved, smear campaigns to friends, or the sudden discovery of abuse that she's been suffering at your hands for years. You don't want to be on the receiving end of that, especially if you have anything to lose, and you do. So, step one is keep what you know to yourself. Step two is you start gathering quietly documentation, your finances, important documents. If you have kids with her, you start writing things down with dates. If she said anything threatening in a text, you screenshot it and back it up somewhere on your phone. You're not building a case for war, you're building a parachute. There's a difference. You may never need it, but you will be very, very glad to have it when you do. Step three is you get a family lawyer's name. You don't hire one, you don't even call, you just know who you would call. Get a free consultation, ask the right questions, leave with a contact in your phone. Step number four is you build a person, one person outside of her, whether it's a brother, a friend, and I mean someone who specializes in narcissistic abuse, not just marriage counseling, because counseling with a narcissist is a weapon she will use against you. And any therapist who knows what they are doing will tell you exactly that. You need one human being who knows the truth and isn't in her orbit. One. So find that coach or therapist or mentor and get some input there. Now, some men, they decide, to wait it out and stay and gray rock her. And some men, if there are kids involved, decide to play the long game until the kids are older to leave. Now, there is no one right answer. And look, depending on your situation, um, in most cases, what I've learned is narcissists do not change. And you probably know that. You've probably seen this pattern for years. But one thing you can do is you can change yourself and you can get strong enough to leave her. Now, two things before I let you go. One, once again, I just want to make sure I make this clear that not every difficult woman out there is a narcissist. Not every fight means that you've been abused. Not every selfish moment is a pattern. People have bad days. People have bad years, different seasons. They grow up in houses where they were taught to deflect and learn from their parents some of those traits. But the question I gave you today is a diagnostic, not a verdict. If she fails it once on a bad day after a long week, that's data, not a diagnosis. You're looking for the pattern across months, across stories, across people. If every single story she tells about every single conflict in her entire life ends with her as the misunderstood angel, that's the pattern. And secondly, this podcast exists for men, but the truth is this question works on anyone. You can ask it to a male boss, a male friend, a father, brother. Narcissism is not gendered. We focus on female narcissists here because there's a serious shortage of resources for men in this specific situation. And it's harder for men to even name what's happening to them. Now, I just see too many men underserved. So, anyways, be careful, guys, with this tool. It's powerful. Don't use it as a weapon. Use it as a flashlight, if you will. So, if this live gave you language for something you've been feeling for a long time, do me a favor and hit subscribe. Not for me, for the next guy. The algorithm doesn't show this content to men who need it unless men who have been through it engage with it. Your subscription is free, and it's a difference between somebody finding this in time and somebody not. So make sure to also drop a comment below. It could be just a few words, one sentence about whatever you are carrying right now. The comment section on this channel is one of the few places online where men can speak honestly about this stuff and not get laughed at. You'll find your people down there. And look, if you are ready for the next step, the video that I'm going to put on the replay of this at the end screen is the one you want to watch next. It's called How Sociopathic Women Break Good Men. And it picks up exactly where this one ends. Now, if you're listening to this on Spotify, you can also search for that episode. And just know that you are not crazy. You are not a bad man. You are not weak. You were lied to by somebody who is very, very good at lying. And you just took the first real step out. So until next time, I'll see you in the next episode. Stay strong and stay narc free.